we're a show that highlights local nonprofits, bringing information to you about services that are provided in the Roaring Fork Valley. And today we're highlighting FocusedKids, which is brain-based social emotional skills. That's a mouthful. And I'd like to welcome Amanda Peterson. You're the executive director.
Hi, thank you, Kathleen.
And Yolanda Gonzalez, your project manager and Latino family coach. So welcome. So tell us, what is this program?
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited to be able to share our work and our mission with our audience today. So FocusedKids, we're in our 12th year of programming in the Roaring Fork Valley. Our mission is to partner with schools, families, and community organizations to make healthy brains a priority for our children. We use mindful self-regulation skills to build resiliency, academic success, and just building up kids' self-worth. And it's very crucial right now to support kids with these tools.
Okay, so you guys were founded about 12 years ago. Where did the idea for this program come from?
The idea came from our founder, Kathy Heidberg, who's a longtime resident of the Roaring Fork Valley. And when FocusedKids was founded, Kathy was a child and family therapist, and she was, at the time, also the acting director of Mind Up, which is a bigger organization founded by Goldie Hawn, teaching kids about mindfulness. And at that time, when Kathy was the director, you know, mindfulness in schools was still really new. There wasn't a lot of research on the brain and how mindfulness and mindful tools, breathing, learning about the brain, how that can help kids in academic settings. So Mind Up was doing a lot of that really early research. And Kathy was seeing the power of this work put into place when she was using it with her kids in her clinical setting. And so she started to develop her standalone model, which evolved into FocusedKids. It was piloted on El Bucecito with Valley Settlement, and instantly there was just this connection of, like, when you start to teach kids about their brain, they don't feel shame about their behaviors. They don't feel like they're a bad kid, but like, oh, that's just what's happening in my brain, and I'm empowered to do something about it.
Awesome. So what's unique about FocusedKids, and how is it different from other social emotional, learning programs?
Well, when FocusedKids was founded, Kathy was very sure that she really wanted to support our community. At the time, I was a teacher in the Roaring Fork Valley, and I was just seeing an increased level of dysregulation in the classroom, increased parent stress. And so Kathy knew that she really wanted to support the families and schools in our community. And so over the last 12 years, we've stayed really true to that. We always are, discussing scaling beyond the Roaring Fork Valley, but what's unique about us is we're here, we're on the ground doing the work from Aspen to Parachute, working directly with families, working directly with kids. We're not a curriculum that we just hand over to a school, which is typical. And what teachers report really liking about our program is that we're there in the classroom, we're coaching teachers, we're coaching parents, we're coaching students on our model. And so that really sets us aside from, a more traditional boxed curriculum.
All right, so it's hands-on learning,
yes.
Right? You role model it, and you have them practice that.
Exactly.
And you work with the kids, you work with educators, parents, grandparents, caregivers, and those are 3 separate programs?
So we have our schools program. This year we're currently in 10 schools, preschool to through elementary school, from Aspen to Parachute. Every year that number grows and kind of shifts. And we're serving currently over 1,400 students directly. We're in 77 classrooms, working directly with over 120 teachers. So that's our schools program. Then we have our community program, where we will go in and train other community organizations on our model, so then they can take the learning and they can use it with their clientele. And then we have our families program as well, which Yolanda leads and is in charge of that piece.
Yeah, Yolanda, tell us more about the family program. And I also love that there's a Latino focus, if you could speak to that also.
All right. Yes, of course. Yeah, part of the Focus Kids in general, we have the Focus Families program that services families from Aspen all the way to Parachute, in the schools and organizations, preschool, also in the community families. The families that have children from 0 to 5 that they are not enrolled in any school yet. And so that's we do different kind of programmings or reach out. Let's say we go to schools and do parent group support after school, in the morning, or wherever the families are available. Family dynamics are always different, so we try to meet where the families are. So that's in general the the Focus Family program. And yes, I am more in charge of the Latino parent programming, which we're trying to reach the most families that we can. And as we know, connecting or reaching out with families is hard. Each family has their own dynamic, and even in each town, it's different. And it's even harder with the Latino community. We are busy, and something else in mental health, sometimes it's forgotten. So we are trying to make connections or partnership with existing organizations that are already working in the communities, and they already have presence, but their main focus is no social emotional. It's something else. It's other basic need. So we partner with them, and then we connect with these families, and we have been kind of successful in that way. Right now, this half of the school year, we have been present mostly in Rifle community and Parachute community, working with parents from who have children from 0 to 5.
Right, and I would imagine there's a unique need for Latino parents who maybe don't speak English, and their children are going to school and having to navigate that. How do you work with that?
So that is another uniqueness from our programming. That my background is counseling and mental health and a social worker. So and then the experience that Focus Kids allow me to have, I think we go prepared. We have the resources to first make the connection with the families. That's why we use partnerships, and then spread our message that there is a way that we can support our families in this specific area, social emotional, that is hugely need. Some families, even they don't know that they need it. And like, oh, I need this. I didn't know, but so that's our goal is to reach more families, Latino families, in their own environment, not community, that in the spaces that they're already familiar with, and then in their own language.
Yeah, it's very unique, and it's very needed in our valley for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we may have people in our audience who don't necessarily understand what socially emotional is. If you could give us a better definition of that, that would be great.
Yeah, it's kind of become a little bit of like a buzz phrase. Right. There's some negative, mindsets around it. Some states are even really pulling away from providing social emotional support in schools. But really, it's a way to support students with how they interact socially, right? There's like the social piece, and how they're able to manage their emotions and their feelings. And what we know is that because we are a brain-based organization, and we always come back to what's happening in the brain. If kids are not feeling safe, we always start with building safe relationships with families. Like, it's all about building that safety. If kids don't feel safe in a classroom, they're not going to be able to learn. They're not going to be able to self-regulate. And then they're not going to be able to learn, because that part of the brain is being hijacked. Their learning part of the brain is being hijacked by the emotional part of the brain. So social emotional health can really be a lot of things. It can be understanding feelings and emotions, understanding how to manage feelings and emotions, being able to name, identify what you're feeling, and communicate effectively. versus outbursts, big emotions, big behaviors. So it's a big bucket, I think, of concepts, but it really comes down to just being able to like manage your feelings and emotions and support yourself.
Right. So I would imagine when you work with educators or parents, it makes a huge difference in that if a child's acting out, instead of labeling them as bad, that they can understand maybe there's some reasons why and how to help their child or their pupil calm themselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, looking at your webpage is amazing. There's so many great things on there. So I'm hoping you guys can talk about, you use puppets, like your Brain Buddy puppets. We'll go through the whole list. The calm and focus chime, breathing ball, glitter jar. So if you've got all your props here, I'd love to see those
we brought
demonstrated
them
and
with us
how
today.
they're used. Yeah.
And that is another piece of what just makes Focused Kids really unique is the puppets. When Focused Kids was founded, and Kathleen, you're a therapist as well, and know that, you know, play therapy and puppets are a really big part of the therapeutic relationship. And so puppets are a really big part of our program. Puppets are safe. Kids feel not threatened. And when you put that puppet on, it's all of a sudden, it's not the adult talking to them, but they're talking to the puppet. And that feels safe and it's engaging, right? Kids just instantly light up. So this is Guard Dog. Guard Dog's been around for a lot of years, and he gets a little nervous when he's on TV. Guard Dog, how does it feel to be on TV today? I don't know. I had a hard time sleeping last night because I was a little worried about being on TV. But are you feeling good now that you're here and you see how safe Kathleen is, and it's a very nice environment? Yeah, I feel better now. Oh, well, good. Can you tell the audience what part of the brain you represent? I represent the amygdala. I represent the fight, flight, freeze part of your brain. And it's also where your big feelings and emotions live. That's me. That's Guard Dog. I'm the amygdala of your brain. So that's Guard Dog. He's kind of our like all-star. Everybody loves Guard Dog. Mostly because everybody can relate to that fight, flight, freeze part of the brain, that emotional part of the brain. So Guard Dog has a really big role in our organization. And just quickly, again, like Kathleen said, you can go on our website to learn more, but Wise Owl represents the prefrontal cortex, the thinking, learning, problem-solving part of the brain. And our other key player in the brain is Miss Elefante, our remembering part of the brain, the hippocampus. And so what is really powerful about the puppets that I'll just quickly show is that we need all of these parts of the brain. And these are only 3 parts of the brain. They're not every single part of the brain, but with these 3 key parts of the brain, we can really understand a lot about our brain and how to help support our brain functioning. And so what's really powerful is this visual of, you know, we need our Wise Owl to help us focus and pay attention and problem solve in school and social situations, helps us be creative and thoughtful. We need our remembering part of our brain. And what often happens, and what's happening to kids so often today and parents, is these parts of the brain are getting hijacked by the amygdala. And they're not able to focus in class. They're not able to pay attention and make good choices. And it's not, again, because they're bad kids. Parents aren't bad parents. It's just this reactive part of the brain has taken over. And so our program uses these tools that are fun and engaging to teach how to calm the Guard Dog. One of the most simple ways is taking deep breaths. We can watch the breathing ball by breathing in and out. Did that feel good, Guard Dog? Should we do it again? Okay, here we go. Well, all of our audience members can breathe in with us and breathe out. And what slowly happens is the amygdala of the brain, the Guard Dog, is signaled, oh, okay, I've got this. I'm safe, right? Guard Dog can calm down. The amygdala can settle in the brain, and then we can begin to access these parts of the brain that are really important for learning, for healthy relationships. This is, you know, this is kind of like an ideal brain functioning, really. And so the puppets are a really fun and engaging and simple way to demonstrate, you know, scientific concepts that are happening in the brain.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And also, I should add that we use our tools, because for the kids, if we tell them breathe, it's kind of like, oh, that's boring. Right? Like, they don't want to. But if they have something visible, you know, and then they, oh, I like it. Let's try breathing. It's easily to engage them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's and then we have like additional puppets that we do use in our program. When we go into classrooms and schools, we're start off by teaching the three key players of the brain, and then we do extension lessons where we're teaching about focused frog, and we have a little frog puppet, and we teach kids how to better be able to focus in the classroom. Grateful goat, we have a goat puppet, and we teach about how to practice gratitude and what that means and what that feels like in your body. Grumpy monkey, it's okay to be grumpy, we're all grumpy sometimes, but how do you recognize when you're grumpy and then decide when you're ready to not be grumpy? So we have a whole collection of puppets that we bring into the classrooms and bring into the settings we work in, as that engaging, fun way to teach these social, emotional, or, concepts.
Right. It's great that you have the puppets and names of the brain, so the parents and kids at home can say, oh, guard dog, okay, let's rest, stand down, those kind of things.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's a great, the language, what we always hear in the community is it's that common language, right? Where like when a parent is learning, and that's why it's so important to us to not just be going into the classrooms, but also be supporting the parents, so that the parents can understand what's happening in their brain, what's happening in their kid's brain. We know that 2 guard dogs, 2 flipped lids, 2 active amygdalas are not going to accomplish anything. So how do we help support the adults and calming their brains and helping them learn self-regulation skills so they can better support their kids?
Yes, and when you mentioned that we have a language about the brain and emotions, when I usually in our second parent training, the second session, I usually, okay, how did it go this week or this month, whatever, and I said the parents usually when some of them don't remember, like, my dog was out all the time. So that is, they found a name. They know what's happening in their brain, right? So that is the first step to control something. Like, okay.
Right. Well, they can detach from it and label it, so then I can control it, right? That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's really effective. It's simple but effective.
Right. And on the webpage, it talks about brain breaks. What's a brain break?
Yeah. So
Love
again,
that.
brain break is another term that when I was a teacher years ago, it was a new concept. There was really only one kind of brain break, and that's a calming brain break. Brain breaks have kind of taken on lots of different meaning. But what we teach brain breaks as is it's really a chance to give your brain a break, to calm the amygdala. So we also know that the brain likes, consistency. So we encourage and model for classrooms to set up these brain breaks. We help create a schedule in the classroom where they're just doing short times, many times throughout the day, where they're giving the whole class a chance to just reset, go inward for a moment, breathe, listen to the chime, do a few breaths with the breathing ball. And those short little resets give the brain, give the amygdala, the guard dog a chance to calm, get the focused part of the brain activated, so that once they go into the next class or activity or whatever, they're in a more regulated place. So brain breaks can look a lot of different ways, but how we teach them are typically they're calming breaks throughout the day to just do a little quick reset.
So it could be with the breathing ball and the chime. How to use the chime?
Yeah, so the chime is another tool. So typically we teach the chime first. And for most kids, not all kids, but for most kids, the sound of the chime sounds calming. By listening to the chime, we are just focusing our attention on one thing. So it gives kids in classrooms, you can imagine, it's like, they're all over the place. And you get the chime out and it's like, it just brings the energy in. So typically we teach, just closing your eyes or just gazing down in front of you, maybe finding an anchor spot for your hands. So maybe that's on your belly button, taking a deep breath in and feeling your belly rise. And breathing out, feeling your belly fall. And then just listening to the sound of the chime. And then coming back.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And regrouping. And that little quick reset can really change the energy of an entire classroom.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost like a behavior modification technique that you hear that chime and you go, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful.
And with time, that practice, right, the brain knows like, oh, the chime, I get a chance to be calm. And kids want these opportunities. We don't, it's just not something we're doing regularly, typically. But kids really crave that stillness, that quiet, that opportunity to just go inward for a moment.
Awesome. So, as a woman who likes sparkly stuff, you have a glitter jar. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
And I think it's frozen now.
I know. So this is what happens when you live in the Roaring Fork Valley and the temperatures are low and you're
Forget stuff.
not bringing things in your house. But the glitter jar is just another beloved tool that we teach. And again, these are kind of like our core tools, but there's lots of different other tools that can be incorporated into calm down kids, calming corners, into the brain breaks. But typically the glitter jar is a really engaging tool. If the water wasn't frozen, you would shake it up and then just breathe while you watch the glitter settle.
Oh, it's very nice.
And with the older kids, we talk about how the glitter really represents just all the like clutter in your mind, the stress, the clutter, and how by settling the glitter, you're really just settling all your thoughts, your worries in your brain, and how that feels to just kind of breathe and let it all settle, even if it's for a moment.
I love it. So you've been with the program how long now?
I have been with Focus Kids. I want to say this will be going into my 8th year.
Okay.
So I started out, Kathy, the founder, brought me in. I had the education background. She brought me in to help build the program. And so I did a lot of the classroom implementation work for about 5 years. And then when Kathy retired, I moved into the executive director role.
Wonderful. And Yolanda, how long have you been with the program?
Gonna be 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Could you each spoke to something you're
5, I
most
think.
proud of that you've achieved with the program? A proud moment?
Does anything come to mind for you?
Like an experience.
Yeah, an experience, something you observed or a change you saw that you're just...
Well, to me, Focus Kids is something amazing in my own life. You know, in my background culturally, is I was raised in a totally different way. I was raised in Peru, in a country area, so we even didn't know what social emotional. And the way that I was raised, it was beyond. I can't even compare the way my child has the opportunity to be raised. I tried. So to me, Focus Kids is really close to my own life. You know, every day I practice what I teach or what I share. Is every day a reminder, because in my brain, you know, the more we practice things, the stronger it gets, the connection. But also I have like all this strong background culture, like how I was raised, and like why I'm doing this. So, and sometimes it comes out, you know, the history, your background comes out, and like, no, back up, Focus Kids. So that's my first, I say, amazing thing with Focus Kids in my own experience as a parent. But also I have noticed a lot the successful times with my Latino parents that I, you know, share with Focus Kids. And it's amazing how just one little thing changes the way they see things, their perspective, and that is, I think, a huge accomplishment, even if it's one family, because it's the effect, you know, the effect
like a
that is
domino effect.
yes, that is it is happening in that person, and then suddenly the connection with the husband, and then with the children. So I think that's I think that's a success.
It's very successful. We're almost short on time here to finish, but what's something you're proud of, and then maybe one exercise that you could teach everybody at home that we could do at home?
Okay. You know, what comes to mind for me is just the growth of the program. Yolanda and I, it was the two of us for a while, and we just hired an additional 2 trainers. So just the growth that we're having in the community. And I'm just really proud of how the community sees us as far as being a trusted, reliable resource to support them with some really scary stuff sometimes, and big things that families are dealing with, and it just feels really good to be a trusted resource in our community. And if we want to do a quick little break,
Absolutely,
so we've done a little bit of breathing with the breathing ball and the chime. But additionally, something at home that's super easy is just starting by grounding your feet. So if your kids are just having a moment, just encourage them. Let's just put our feet on the ground. And just that connection with the earth can be calming and grounding and like, okay, I'm here right now. And then we'll put our hands on our belly button. There's a little pressure point near your belly button that sends a signal to your brain that says, okay, brain, I'm trying to find some calm. So just by making these connections with the earth, with our hands and belly, we begin to send a signal to our brain to find some calm. And then we'll just take a deep breath. You can close your eyes or just gaze down and just breathe. Just feeling what it feels like, noticing what it feels like to just tune into your body and breathe. And then you can just kind of come back when you're ready. A couple deep breaths sometimes is all it takes for a little reset. And the last little piece I would say for parents that are listening, grandparents that are listening, like Yolanda mentioned, you can't just tell a kid to breathe. You have to breathe. That's co-regulation, and your breath will help regulate their breath, even if they're choosing not to breathe.
Exactly.
So that coming from you is the biggest important takeaway, I would say.
Right, because you're the role model. That's awesome. I thank both of you for being here today. I want to have you back to go in more details with your show. What you do, it's just fantastic. And anybody at home, please go to their webpage. There's a plethora of resources. There's a bunch of trainings you can sign up for. Yeah, how do they get to your program real quick?
Yeah, FocusedKids.org. And check it out. We have a educator piece, lots of resources for educator. We're working on building out more resources for parents, and we're hoping in 2025 to have our website fully available in Spanish as well.
That's wonderful. Yeah. All right, well, thank you so much. And I want to thank you all for joining us, and I'd like to sign off with wishing you health, healing, and happiness.